She was 7 years old, and she knew exactly what that man was going to do to her before nightfall. But the person who saved her wasn't looking for heroism that day. What he saw in that child's eyes would change not only that day, it would change who he was forever. The sun beat down on the cracked asphalt of the gas station on Route 66, 5 miles past Barstow. Jake Sullivan turned off the engine of his Harley Fatboy and felt the silence weigh heavily on his ears. The smell of old gasoline mixed with hot oil rose from the ground. He had been on the road for 3 days, running from nothing and everything at the same time. He took off his helmet. Sweat trickled down the back of his neck. His fingers ached from gripping the handlebars for hours on end. 38 years old, his body marked by tattoos that told stories he no longer repeated. Former Marine, former husband, former father. He placed the hose in the tank and looked around. The gas station was one of those, forgotten by time. 2 rusty pumps, a convenience store with dusty windows, a dirty white trailer parked on the left, with the curtains drawn. No cars except for a blue Dodge Ram, parked near the restrooms. Jake pulled the trigger on the pump. The fuel began to flow. He closed his eyes for a second. He tried not to think about anything. That's when he felt it. Someone is approaching. Slowly. Small footsteps on the gravel. He opened his eyes. A girl. 7, maybe 8 years old. Dirty blonde. Hair, tied back with a faded pink elastic band. A flowery dress that was too big. Barefoot. Deep blue eyes, the kind that have seen things children shouldn't see. She stopped 2 meters from him. She didn't speak. She just looked. Jake frowned. "Are you okay, girl?" She didn't answer. Her lips trembled. Her small hands gripped the hem of her dress. Jake saw it then. The bruise on her left arm, her fingernails dirty with soil, the way she looked over her shoulder, as if expecting something. "Hey," Jake said more quietly, bending down a little. "What's wrong?" The girl took a step forward. Her voice came out thin, almost a whisper. "He's going to take me." Jake felt his stomach clench. "Who?" She didn't say the name. She just turned her head slightly, indicating with her eyes. Jake followed her gaze. A Dodge Ram. A man was leaning against the side of the car, maybe 40 years old. Black cap, open plaid shirt, protruding belly. He was smoking a cigarette and staring directly at them, without blinking, without moving. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. The girl looked at him again. He said, "I need to go with him, but I don't want to." "Is he your father?" She shook her head. "No." "Is he a friend of your mother?" She hesitated. Then she nodded yes. "And your mother? Where is she?" The girl pointed to the white trailer. Jake saw the curtain move. Someone was peeking from inside, but no one came out. The man in the Dodge Ram threw his cigarette on the ground. He started walking toward them. Slowly, with the kind of confidence that comes from knowing he can do whatever he wants. The girl took a step back. Her eyes filled with tears. "Please," she whispered. Jake looked at her, then at the approaching man, then at the trailer. He felt the gas pump click. The tank was full. He let go of the hose. He didn't take his eyes off the man. And that's when everything changed, because Jake Sullivan was no longer who he used to be. But maybe, just maybe, he still remembered who he had been. The man stopped 3 meters away. He smiled. And Jake knew, in that exact second, that if he left that place now, that girl would never be seen alive again. If this touched you, subscribe now, and comment on where you're watching this from, because this story isn't over yet, and you need to see what happens next. The man had eyes that were too small for his face, the kind that didn't reflect light. He looked at Jake, then at the girl, then back at Jake again. "Is this one bothering you?" His voice was gruff and drawn out. Jake didn't answer. He just held her gaze. The girl was frozen, Her fingers gripped the hem of her dress so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Jake saw that she was trembling, not from cold, from pure terror. "She's my niece," the man continued, taking another step. "Her mother asked me to pick her up. We're going home." "She doesn't seem to want to go," Jake said, his voice low. The man laughed, a dry sound, without humor. "Kids never want anything that's good for them, do they?" He held out his hand toward the girl. "Come here, Lily. Your mother is waiting." The girl didn't move. Jake felt something shift inside him. It wasn't anger, not yet. It was that old instinct, the same one he used in Afghanistan when he knew something was wrong before he heard the gunshot. "She'll stay here," Jake said. The man tilted his head. His smile vanished. "What? You heard me." The silence that followed was dense, the kind of silence that precedes violence. Jake knew it well. The man looked him up and down. He saw the leather jacket, the tattoos, the Harley. He also saw the scar that cut across Jake's left eyebrow, and something in his face changed. It became calculating. "Look here, biker," he said slowly. "You don't know anything. This girl is family, and I don't need your permission to take my own niece." Jake stepped forward. He positioned himself between the man and Lily. "Then call her mother here. Now." The man stood still. His eyes narrowed. "You're sticking your nose where it doesn't belong." "Perhaps. This could cause you problems. I've had worse problems." The tension in the air was almost palpable. The man took a deep breath through his nose. Jake saw the hesitation. He saw the calculation going on in his head. Was it worth it? Was this biker crazy enough to fight? Finally, the man took a step back, but he didn't leave. He just took another cigarette from his pocket, lit it, and stood there, waiting, watching. Jake turned slightly, toward Lily. He crouched down to her level. "Lily, is that your name?" She nodded yes. "Lily, look at me." She looked up, and Jake saw. He saw everything. He saw the fear he knew all too well. The same fear he had seen in his own daughter's eyes years ago, before everything fell apart. "Do you know this man?" She hesitated. Then she nodded yes. "Has he ever hurt you?" The tears finally fell. She couldn't speak, but the answer was there. In the trembling of her lips, in the way she hugged herself. Jake felt anger rising, but he didn't let it overflow. Not yet. "Everything's fine," he said quietly. "You're not going with him, understand? Not today." Lily looked at him as if he had said the most impossible thing in the world, as if she didn't believe anyone could actually prevent the inevitable. Jake stood up. He looked at the trailer. The curtain was open now. He saw a thin woman, disheveled hair, empty eyes. She looked at her daughter, then at Jake. Then she lowered her head and closed. The curtain again. It wouldn't help. It wouldn't do anything. The man slowly exhaled the cigarette smoke and smiled again. "You have no idea what you're getting yourself into, brother." Jake turned to him. "I have a very clear idea." And it was at that moment that Jake realized he couldn't just leave, because if he did, that child would die. And he had let people die before. Jake Sullivan knew this type of man. He knew their smell, their posture, their way of speaking. He had grown up with one of them. His stepfather, Ron, was exactly like that. Overconfident, cruel in the right way. Always had an excuse. Always had someone protecting him. Jake was 9 when Ron started hitting him, 13 when he tried to fight back, 15 when he ran away from home for the first time, 17 when he enlisted in the army and never looked back. But some things remain. They leave a mark, no matter how many years pass. He looked at Lily, and he saw himself. "Are you hungry?" Jake asked. She blinked, surprised by the question. Then she nodded yes. "Come with me." Jake walked toward the convenience store. Lily followed him, taking quick, small steps. The man in the Dodge Ram didn't move, but his eyes followed his every move. Inside the store, the air was stuffy. It smelled of mold and stale soda. There was only one clerk behind the counter, a gray-haired gentleman with thick glasses, reading a newspaper. Jake grabbed a bottle of water, a packaged sandwich, and a packet of biscuits. He placed everything on the counter. "She needs to eat," he told the attendant. The man looked at Lily, then at Jake. He didn't ask any questions. He just handed over the items. Jake paid and handed everything to Lily. She held it as if it were treasure. She opened the water bottle and drank desperately, half the liquid running down her chin. "Slowly," Jake said softly. She stopped. She wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. She looked at him. "Thanks." It was the first time she had said anything other than whispers. Jake felt his chest tighten. "You are welcome." They stood there, frozen in the narrow aisle of the store. Jake knew he had to make a decision. Call the police? In small towns, that didn't always work. Sometimes the police knew the families. Sometimes they didn't want to get involved. And sometimes, even when they did get involved, the children would come back to the same spot. He had seen this happen before. Lily ate half of her sandwich in silence. Jake looked out the window. The man was still there, now leaning against the hood of the Dodge Ram, waiting. "Lily," Jake said, "that man, has he taken you before?" She stopped chewing. Her face turned pale. "Yes." "Where to?" She lowered her eyes. "To his house." "And what happened there?" The silence was long, painful. Jake saw the tears welling up again. He saw the shame, the confusion. He saw everything a child shouldn't have to bear. "He said it was a secret," she whispered. "He said no one would believe me, that my mother would be angry." Jake clenched his fists. He felt a nail dig into his palm. He took a deep breath. He regained control. "I believe in you," he said, his voice firm. "And your mother should protect you. But if she won't, I will." Lily stared at him with wide eyes. "But you don't even know me." Jake crouched down in front of her. "No, but I've been you, and nobody protected me when I needed it." And then Jake knew, no matter what it cost, no matter what he had to do, that girl wasn't going back to that man's house. The shop door creaked open. The man went inside. He didn't look at the attendant. He just walked straight to where Jake and Lily were. His steps were heavy. Each one sounded like a threat. "You've played enough," he said. "Come on, Lily." Jake positioned himself in front of the girl. "She's not going." The man stopped, his face contorted. The feigned cordiality vanished completely. "You're starting to annoy me." "Good." The man took a step forward. He stood just inches from Jake. He was shorter, but had broad shoulders. Jake smelled cigarette smoke and sour sweat. "Do you know who I am?" The man said quietly. "No, and I don't care." "You should. My name is Ray Carver. I have friends in this town, friends who don't like outsiders meddling where they shouldn't." Jake didn't move. "And I have friends who don't like men who hurt children." Ray's eyes blazed with anger. "You don't know what you're talking about. I know exactly." Ray looked around. The clerk was pretending to read the newspaper, but Jake could see he was tense. Lily was clinging to Jake's back, hiding. Ray took a step back. But it wasn't defeat. It was strategy. "Okay," he said, raising his hands as if surrendering. "You want to be the hero. You want to save the little girl. Fine. But when you leave, and you will leave because bikers don't stay anywhere, I'll be here. And she will be here too. And her mother too." He leaned slightly. "So, what do you think is going to happen?" Jake felt the coldness of the words. He sensed the truth in them. Ray was right. Jake didn't live there. He had no ties. He had no way to protect Lily after he was gone. Unless it wasn't. "I'll call the police," Jake said. Ray laughed. A genuine sound this time. "You can call. The sheriff is her mother's cousin. He'll say it's a family feud, that the girl is confused, that I'm a good man who's just trying to help." Jake knew he was telling the truth. Small towns worked like that. Everyone knew everyone. And secrets were guarded like gold. "Then I'll take her away," Jake said. Ray stopped laughing. "That would be kidnapping. That would be protection. That's not what the law will say." They stood there staring at each other. Jake knew he was in a dead end, but he couldn't back down. Not now. Ray shrugged. "I'll give you a chance. You get on your motorcycle, you go away, and you forget you ever saw that girl. No, then you'll regret it." Ray turned and left the store. The door slammed shut behind him. Jake saw through the window. He got into the Dodge Ram, but he didn't drive away. He just stood there, engine running, waiting. Jake looked at Lily. "Do you have somewhere to go? Family? Anyone?" She shook her head. "Only my mother." And her mother wasn't going to do anything. Jake pulled out his cell phone. He looked at the screen. He thought about who to call. He thought about Dennis, about Marcus, about Ronnie, the brothers from the club. But they were more than 200 miles away. Then he thought of something else. He put his cell phone away. He took Lily's hand. "Come with me." "Where to?" "Far from here." But before they could take a step, the door opened again. And this time it wasn't Ray. It was Lily's mother. And she wasn't alone. The woman who entered had sunken eyes and greasy hair tied in a loose ponytail. She wore a stained t-shirt and ripped sweatpants. Behind her were two men. One thin, with tattoos on his neck. The other fat, with a chain hanging from his belt. She looked at Jake, then at Lily. "Lily, come here." Her voice was thin, but it had a commanding tone. Lily huddled behind Jake. "Lily, I told you to come here." The girl started to cry. Jake stepped forward. "She doesn't want to go." The woman laughed bitterly. "And who the hell are you? Her father? I am someone who cares." "You don't know her. You don't know us. You don't know anything. I know enough." The woman crossed her arms. The two men positioned themselves on either side of her. Jake quickly did the math. 3 against 1. Plus Ray outside, plus whatever came next. "Look," the woman said, feigning patience, "I know you're trying to help. But she's my daughter, and I decide what's best for her. Is it better to hand her over to a man who abuses her?" The woman blushed. The two men shifted tensely. "Be careful what you say," the thin man said. Jake ignored him. He kept his eyes on the woman. "You know what he does to her, you know. And yet you let it happen." The woman looked at the floor. For a second, Jake saw something there. Shame, perhaps, or guilt. But then she raised her face again, and what he saw was anger. "You don't understand," she spat. "You don't know how hard it is. I have no money. I have no one. Ray helps us. He pays the bills. He rapes his daughter." The silence was cutting. The woman opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. "Get out of my way," she said quietly. "No." The fat man took a step forward. "You heard her, man. Get out." Jake didn't move. He felt Lily grab the back of his jacket. He felt her trembling. He felt her fear. He had 2 options: fight or give in. If she fought, she'd get beaten up. There were 4 of them, maybe 5 with Ray. And then what? Police, prison, and Lily back home. If she gave in, Lily would go with Ray, and Jake would never sleep peacefully again. He looked at the woman. He tried one last time. "You don't have to do this. I can help. I can get you both out of here." The woman laughed, a broken sound. "You can't do anything." Jake saw it then. He saw that she had already given up on everything, on herself, on her daughter, on life. And that's what broke something inside him. He looked at Lily. "Corey." "What?" "When I tell you, you run. Go to my motorcycle, get on, and hold on tight. But..." Trust me." The men noticed. They moved forward. Jake turned and shoved Lily toward the back door of the store. She stumbled, but ran. The skinny man tried to grab her, but Jake punched him in the chin. He fell to the side. The fat man lunged forward. Jake dodged. He grabbed a can of beans from the shelf and hit the man on the side of the head. The man staggered. Lily's mother screamed. Jake ran out the back door. He saw Lily already on the Harley, struggling to climb onto the back seat. He got on the front. He turned the key. The engine roared. Ray exited the Dodge Ram. Jake sped up. The wheels skidded on the gravel. Lily gripped his waist tightly. Jake felt the wind hit his face. He heard shouts behind him. He heard a gunshot. But he didn't look back, because now there was no turning back. He had crossed the line, and everything that came after would be his fault. Jake sped down the empty road. The sun was setting on the horizon, tinging the sky orange and red. Lily clung to him, her face pressed against his back. He felt her sob. "Hold on tight," Jake shouted over the noise of the engine. She didn't answer. She just squeezed harder. Jake looked in the rearview mirror. The Dodge Ram was behind them, coming fast. Shit. He accelerated even more. The Harley was flying. But the Ram was powerful, and Ray knew these roads. Jake thought fast. He couldn't stay on the main road. Ray was going to catch up with them. He needed a detour. He needed a plan. He saw an exit to the right. A dirt road that led into the desert. Without thinking twice, he turned. The motorcycle skidded. Lily screamed. But Jake maintained control. They entered the dirt road, raising a cloud of dust behind them. Ram also turned around. Jake sped up. The road was uneven. Rocks. Potholes. The motorcycle bounced. Lily almost slipped. Jake gripped the handlebars tightly. He felt the vibration travel up his arms. "Don't let go," he shouted. "I'm scared, I know, but trust me." Ram was getting closer. Jake saw it in the mirror. Ray was angry, and anger made people dangerous. Jake turned again, this time to the left. He entered an even narrower path between rocks. The Harley could barely pass, but Ram couldn't keep up. Ray braked. Jake heard him curse. He saw him get out of the car. Jake continued, faster, deeper into the desert. After 5 minutes, he stopped. He turned off the engine. The silence came as a shock, only the wind blowing and Lily's heavy breathing. Jake got off the motorcycle. Lily was trembling. He helped her down. She could barely stand. Her legs were weak. Jake held her. "Everything's fine," he said. "Everything's fine." "He's going to find us," Lily cried. "It won't work." "Yes, he will. He always finds it." Jake knelt in front of her. He held her shoulders. "Lily, listen to me. I won't let anything happen to you. Understand?" She looked at him with tear-filled eyes. "Promise?" And Jake, who never made promises because he knew they could be broken, said, "I promise." They stood there for a moment. Then Jake heard a car, far away, but coming. It wasn't Ram, it was something else, a siren, police. Jake felt his stomach churn. Ray had called. He'd said Jake had kidnapped the girl, and now technically he had. "Come here," he said, taking Lily by the hand. They walked among the rocks. Jake looked for a place to hide. He found a rock formation with a small cave. He went inside with Lily. They remained crouched down, waiting. The siren got louder, then it passed, then it disappeared. Jake breathed, but he knew. He knew this wasn't over. Ray wasn't going to stop. The police weren't going to stop. And he, a former Marine with no home, no money, no plan, had just put a child in even more danger. Lily looked at him. "What do we do now?" Jake had no answer, and for the first time in years, Jake Sullivan felt something he had sworn he would never feel again. Real fear. Jake waited until the sky was completely dark. Stars began to appear. The desert grew cold. Lily was huddled beside him, her arms wrapped around her knees. "Are you cold?" Jake asked. She nodded yes. Jake took off his leather jacket and put it over her shoulders. It was too big. It covered her completely. Lily pulled the jacket closer and closed her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. Jake picked up his cell phone. He looked at the screen. 1 bar of signal. Enough. He hesitated. Then he dialed. It rang 3 times. Then a hoarse voice answered. "Jake? Dennis? Dude, where are you? It's been 3 days since... I need help." The tone made Dennis stop. "What happened?" Jake looked at Lily. "I got myself into a situation." "What kind of situation?" "The kind that involves a child and a predator, and the police coming after me." There was silence. "Damn it, Jake." "I know. Where are you?" Jake looked around. He wasn't sure. "In the desert, leaving Barstow, about 20 minutes in." "Do you have the motorcycle?" "Yes. Can you get back on the road?" "I think so." "Then go back. Go north. There's a town called Ludlow. There's a motel there. Red Canyon Inn. Wait there. We're coming." "Dennis, you don't need to..." "Shut up, Jake. We're leaving. You're my, brother. And brothers don't abandon each other." The call dropped. Jake put his phone away. He felt a tightening in his chest. Loyalty. He had forgotten what that felt like. "Who was it?" Lily asked. "A friend. Will he help?" Or, "How do you know?" Jake looked at her. "Because that's what we do." 2 hours later, Jake and Lily arrived at the Red Canyon Inn. It was an old motel with flashing red neon lights. There were only 3 cars in the parking lot. Jake parked in the back. He went into the reception area with Lily. The clerk was an old man with glasses reading a magazine. "I need a room," Jake said. The man looked at him, then at Lily. "Your daughter?" "Yes." A lie, but a necessary one. The man didn't question it. He simply handed over a key. "Room 12, way in the back." Jake paid in cash. He took the key. They went to the room. It was small, 2 beds, smelled of mildew, but it had a shower, and it was hot. "Take a shower," Jake told Lily. "I'm going to get some, food." She hesitated. "Are you coming back?" Jake saw the fear in her eyes. The fear of being left behind. "Again. I'll be back, I promise." She went into the bathroom. Jake heard the shower turn on. He went out. He went to a 24-hour diner on the corner. He bought hamburgers, French fries, and soda. He came back. Lily sat on the bed in a towel, her hair wet. She ate with desperate hunger. Jake ate too, but without tasting anything. Then Lily lay down on one of the beds. Jake covered her with the blanket. "Are you going to stay?" she asked sleepily. "I'll stay here in the other bed." "No. You're going to stay with me? Forever?" Jake felt his heart clench. "I'll do what I can." She closed her eyes. Within minutes, she was asleep. Jake sat on the other bed. He looked at her. So small, so fragile. He had a daughter, Emma. She would be Lily's age now, but he didn't know. He hadn't seen her since she was 3. Since the divorce. Since he'd messed everything up. A knock on the door. Jake got up. He went to the window. He peeked out. 3 motorcycles, headlights off. He opened the door. Dennis was there. Tall, with a grey beard, tired but loyal eyes. Beside him, Marcus, black, large build, firm hand. And Ronnie, thin, tattoos all over, an easy smile even in difficult situations. They went inside. They looked at Lily, sleeping. They didn't ask any questions. Not yet. Dennis looked at Jake. "Tell me everything." And Jake counted. Every word. Every detail. And when he finished, he saw something in their eyes that he hadn't expected. Anger. Dennis crossed his arms. Marcus sat in the old chair near the window. Ronnie stood there, hands in his pockets, a hard expression on his face. "So let me see if I understand," Dennis said quietly. "You rescued the girl from a predator. Her mother did nothing. And now the police are after you. Basically. Damn it, Jake. I know. Do you know what this means?" You could go to jail, kidnapping, no matter the reason. I know. Dennis took a deep breath. He looked at Lily sleeping, then back at Jake. But you did the right thing. Jake blinked. What? I told you that you did the right thing. Dennis stepped forward. No one here will judge you for protecting a child. No one. Marcus nodded in agreement. We've seen enough crap in the world already. If there's one thing we won't tolerate, it's this. Ronnie spat on the ground. Ray Carver, right? I know the type. There are always people protecting them, always. But not when we're involved. Jake felt something change. He wasn't alone, not anymore. What are you suggesting? Dennis looked at the others, then back to Jake. Let's resolve this the right way. Which way? Our way. Jake knew what this meant, and he knew there was no going back. If we do this, there's no going back. I know, the police are going to come after us. Let them come. Marcus stood up. Jake, we're not heroes. I never said we were, but we have a code, and that code says kids don't touch each other. Ever. So if you're in, we're in. Ronnie waved. Until the end. Jake looked at each of them, then at Lily. She was quiet. Her breathing was soft. For the first time in probably days, she was sleeping peacefully. Okay, Jake said. We'll do it. But the right way. No unnecessary violence, no death. Dennis hesitated. Jake, if the guy resists, we'll deal with it when it happens. But the priority is the girl. Always. The three agreed. So what's the plan? Marcus asked. Jake thought. We need to get Lily out of here, far away, where Ray can't find her. And the mother doesn't want help. We can't force her. Ray. Jake remained silent. Then he said, we guarantee he will never touch anyone again. Dennis smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who knew what needed to be done. Then let's do it. But before they could continue, the door exploded. Police entered, guns drawn, shouts. On the ground, now! Jake saw Lily wake up startled. He saw her scream. He saw the police. Officers pointing at him. Everything fell apart. Dennis tried to speak. Marcus raised his hands. Ronnie tensed up. Jake looked at Lily. She was crying, screaming his name. Jake! A police officer pulled her away. She fought back. She kicked, but she was too small. Jake stepped forward. Don't move. He stopped. He looked at the policeman, then at Lily. She can't go back there, Jake said. Shut up. She can't come back. The policeman pushed him against the wall, handcuffs cold, tight. Jake saw Lily being taken away. He saw her screaming. He saw her reaching out to him. And he couldn't do anything. Dennis, Marcus, and Ronnie were handcuffed as well. They were taken away, separated, thrown into different vehicles. Jake watched the motel disappear through the window. And I knew I had failed. Again. Jake was taken to the Barstow police station. A small room, a metal table, 2 chairs, a flickering fluorescent light, the smell of stale coffee and mold. He was handcuffed. Alone. It had been 2 hours. The door opened. A detective entered. In his early 50s, protruding belly, loose tie, tired but calculating eyes. Jake Sullivan, he said, sitting down. Former Marine. Dishonorably discharged in 2019. History of PTSD. No fixed address. He threw a folder on the table. And now, child kidnapper. I didn't kidnap anyone. Oh no? Then what do you call taking a 7-year-old girl away from her mother without permission? Protection. The detective laughed. Protection of course. He leaned in. Look, I understand. You saw a situation you didn't like. You wanted to help. Noble. But you committed a crime. The crime is what Ray Carver does to her. Ray Carver? The detective feigned surprise. He's a respected member of the community. He helps his family. He pays their bills. He abuses her. Do you have proof? Jake remained silent. There isn't, right? The detective continued. Because there's no proof. Because it didn't happen. The girl said. Children say a lot of things. They make up stories. They get confused. She's not confused. And how do you know that? How many hours have you known her? 6? 8? Jake clenched his teeth. I know. The detective sighed. He leaned back in his chair. Jake, I'm going to be honest with you. You're screwed. Kidnapping is a federal crime. You're going to jail. For years. Your friends too. They didn't do anything. They were helping you. Complicity. He picked up a piece of paper. But maybe we can make a deal. Jake looked at him. What kind of agreement? You admit you acted impulsively, that you misunderstood the situation, that you're very sorry. We'll let your friends go, and you only get 6 months. Lily? Lily is going back to her mother, where she belongs. No. Jake, no. The detective slammed his hand on the table. You have no choice. There's always a choice. They stared at each other. Then the detective stood up. You're making a mistake. I'm not the one making the mistake here. The detective left. He slammed the door. Jake was left alone. Hours passed. No one came, no calls, no lawyer. He thought of Lily. Where was she now? With her mother? With Ray? He thought of his brothers, Dennis, Marcus, Ronnie, imprisoned because of him. He thought of Emma, his daughter, whom he would never see again. He thought about everything that had gone wrong in his life. All the bad choices, all the people he had disappointed. And for the first time in years, Jake Sullivan cried. Not sadness, anger, helplessness. The knowledge that even trying to do the right thing, he had failed. The door opened again. But it wasn't the detective. It was a woman. Gray suit. Hair tied back. Sharp eyes. Mr. Sullivan, my name is Amanda Torres. I'm a social worker. And I'm here to talk about Lily. Jake straightened up. Is she okay? Amanda sat down. It depends on what you call good. She's with her mother. For now. For now? Amanda opened a folder. I read your account. And the police report. And I spoke with Lily. Jake waited. She's terrified. She won't stop crying. She says she doesn't want to go home. That she wants to stay with you. Jake felt his chest tighten. And what are you going to do? Amanda looked at him for a long moment. Honestly, I don't know. Because legally you committed a crime. But morally, she hesitated. I've worked on cases like this before, and almost always the children return to the same place, to the same abuse. Because the system is broken, because we don't have proof, because families lie. Then help me. I can't. Not without evidence. Isn't her word evidence? Not enough. Jake felt the anger rising. So what does it take? Does she have to die for you to believe her? Amanda lowered her eyes. I'm very sorry. She stood up. She went to the door. She stopped. But if someone could get some concrete proof, something that couldn't be ignored, maybe things would change. She left. Jake was alone again. But now there was something. Crack. A thread of hope. And Jake Sullivan was never one to give up, not when there was still a fight left. Jake remained in the cell for another 12 hours. No food, no water, no news. Then the door opened. Dennis was there, with Marcus and Ronnie. Are you guys free to go? Jake asked, standing up. Bail, Dennis said. We had to sell the motorcycles. Jake felt guilty. Dennis, I don't even think about it. We'd do it again. A police officer showed up. Sullivan, you too. Bail paid. Jake frowned. By whom? The police officer shrugged. I don't know. I'm not paid to know. They went outside. The sun was rising. The air was cold. A woman was leaning against a car. Amanda Torres. Was it you? Jake asked. Not exactly, but I know who it was. Who? Amanda looked around. Then she said softly, "There are people in this city who don't like Ray Carver. People who know what he does. But they're afraid to speak up. When I told them what you did, some of those people wanted to help. Why are you doing this?" Amanda looked at him. "Because there are children who have no one. And when someone finally tries to protect them, we can't let that die." She handed Jake a piece of paper. "This is an address from a woman. She says she saw Ray with Lily and with other children. She will testify, but only if you can protect her." Jake picked up the paper. "I go. Jake, if you do that, you'll make your legal situation worse." "I'm not bothered." Dennis placed his hand on his shoulder. "We're with you." Marcus and Ronnie waved. Amanda sighed. "Then go, before I change my mind." They went. The address was for a small house on the outskirts of town, a wooden house, peeling paint, a dead garden. A woman opened the door, 60-something years old, gray hair, tired eyes. "Are you the bikers?" "We are." She looked around, then she let them in. Inside, she sat down. Her hands were trembling. "My name is Carol. I've lived here for 30 years, and I've seen things that keep me from sleeping." "About Ray?" She nodded. "He brings children. He always brings them. From the trailer park, from poor families. He says he's helping. But I know what he does." "Do you have proof?" She hesitated. Then she stood up. She went to a cupboard. She took out a box. "Photos. I took them from a distance. From his car, of the children coming and going. Dates, times." Jake opened the box. There were dozens of photos, and in several of them, Lily. "Why didn't you ever take this to the police?" Carol laughed bitterly. "Because the sheriff is Lily's mother's cousin. Because half the town owes Ray money. Because nobody believes an old woman alone." "I believe you," Jake said. Carol looked at him. Tears streamed down her face. "Then take this and use it, because I'm tired of seeing children suffer." Jake picked up the box. "Thanks." They left. But before they reached the motorcycles, a car braked in front of them. Ray Carver went out. He wasn't alone. He had 3 men with him, armed. "I thought you'd learned your lesson," Ray said. Jake placed the box on the floor. Slowly. "The lesson I learned is that men like you always exist. But they also always fall. Ray to them. You're not going anywhere with that. Let's see." Ray made a sign. The men advanced. Dennis, Marcus, and Ronnie took their positions, 5 against 4, fair odds. And that's when everything exploded. Ray's first man stepped forward, big, heavy, confident. Marcus found him halfway there, a straight punch. The man fell. The second one came from behind. Ronnie turned, kicked to the knee. The man screamed. He fell to the side. The third guy pulled out a knife. Dennis grabbed a motorcycle chain. He blocked it. He disarmed him. He struck the guy on the side of the head. Ray stood still, his eyes wide. He hadn't expected any resistance. Jake walked toward him, slowly. "You're brave when it comes to defenseless children. But what about now?" Ray took a step back. "You don't know who you're messing with. I know exactly." Ray tried to run. Jake grabbed him by the arm. He spun him around. He threw him against the hood of the car. "You will pay for every child you touched." Ray spat. "You can't prove anything." Jake picked up the box. He opened it. He showed the photos. "I think I can." Ray's face turned pale. That doesn't mean anything. Let's see what a judge thinks." Sirens. Police arriving. Jake dropped Ray. He let him fall to the ground. He picked up the box. The vehicle stopped. Police officers got out. Weapons drawn. Everyone on the ground. Jake raised his hands, but he didn't let go of the box. "Detective," he shouted. The same detective from before got out of the patrol car. "Sullivan, you never learn." Maybe. But you'll want to see this. Jake threw the box to him. The detective caught it. He looked inside. His expression changed. Where did you get that? From someone who cares. The detective looked at Ray, then back at Jake. That doesn't absolve you of what you did. I know. But spare her. The detective remained silent. Then he made a sign. Police officers approached Ray. Handcuffs. Ray screamed, "This is a setup. You can't do this." But they could. And they did. He was taken away, screaming, vowing revenge. Jake watched him disappear in the police car. He felt a lump in his throat. It wasn't victory. It was justice. Finally. The detective looked at Jake. You will still be held accountable for the kidnapping. I know. But... He hesitated. I'm going to recommend community service, and that the bail be maintained. Lily is going to a temporary foster home, away from her mother, until the trial. And then what? Then, we'll see. But she's not going back there, I guarantee it. Jake nodded. It was the most he could hope for. Dennis, Marcus, and Ronnie approached each other. And what about us? Dennis asked. The detective sighed. Go away before I change my mind. They didn't need to hear it twice. But Jake hesitated. Can I see her? Just once? The detective looked at him. Then he nodded. 5 minutes. Jake was taken to the police station. Lily was sitting in a waiting room. Amanda was next to her. When Lily saw Jake, she ran. She threw herself into his arms. She cried. Jake held her. He squeezed. Are you okay? She nodded. You're back. Always face. She stepped away. She looked at him. They said you're leaving. For a while, but not forever. Promise? Jake looked into her eyes and promised. I promise. Amanda touched Lily's shoulder. Come on, darling, we have to go. Lily looked at Jake one last time. Then she left. Jake stood there, alone, empty, but also at peace. Because for the first time in years he had done something that mattered. 6 months later, Jake was in a mechanic shop in Flagstaff, Arizona, working, living, trying to rebuild. He had completed community service. He had attended mandatory therapy. He had tried to reconnect with Emma, his daughter. She had agreed to talk to him, little by little. One afternoon, a car stopped in front of the workshop. Amanda got out. Jake wiped his hands on the cloth. He went over to her. Amanda. Jake. She smiled. A tired smile, but a genuine one. I came to tell you Ray was convicted. 20 years. Jake felt the weight lift from his shoulders. Lily. Lily was adopted by a good family in another state, far from all of this. Is she okay? Okay. She talks about you sometimes. She says you were the first adult who believed in her. Jake felt his eyes burning. Can I see her? Amanda hesitated. One day, when she's ready. But for now, she needs stability. Jake nodded. He understood. Amanda handed over an envelope. She wrote this to you. Jake picked it up. He opened it. Inside, a drawing of a girl and a man on a motorcycle, flying down a road, sun on the horizon. Below, in crooked letters, thank you for saving me. You're my hero, Lily. Jake folded the paper carefully. He put it in his pocket. Amanda placed her hand on his arm. You changed her life, Jake. She changed mine too. Amanda left. Jake went back to work. But he stopped. He looked at the road, at the Harley parked beside him. He thought of all the roads he had traveled, all the places he had tried to forget. But now, for the first time, I wasn't running away. I was going somewhere. And maybe, just maybe, there was still time to fix what had broken. He picked up his cell phone. He dialed. Hello? Emma? It's me. Your father. Hi, Dad. You have time? To talk? Always. Jake smiled. And for the first time in years, he felt like he was home. Because heroes aren't perfect, they don't save everyone, and they don't fix everything. But when it matters, when it really matters, they show up. And Jake Sullivan had shown up, and that, in the end, was everything. If this story touched you, leave a like now, subscribe to the channel, and comment. Did this emotional justice story affect you? Because there are more stories like this waiting for you. Click. On the next video, the road doesn't end here. She was 9 years old and nobody believed her until a biker saw the truth.